All right, welcome back to the Bold Call Fantasy Football Podcast brought to you by DFSARMY. Today, we are looking at our favorite plays round by round to help you dominate your fantasy draft.
Got the best coaches in the game, we really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block, helmets, casket, and tie.
Oh, shit. It's my favorite episode of the year. Our favorite plays, round by round. We are helping you dominate your fantasy drafts. It's fantasy draft season. My name is Kevin Allen, a.k.a. the Geek from DFSARMY. I got my boy, Season Long Says, the Encyclopedia Footballica himself, here with me, and we're going to give you our favorite plays round by round. What's up, Says?
I mean, this is the question that we get all the time in the DFSARMY Discord. It's who do I pick in this round? Who do I pick in the 8th round? So what we're going to do, as you just said, go round by round and tell you our favorite picks, our targets, our 2 or 3 targets in each round. This is going to be one of the most helpful live streams and podcasts we do all draft season, and especially if you haven't drafted yet.
Now, a couple of notes of this. There's a difference between the beginning of a round and the end of a round, so we'll differentiate between that a little bit, where you're drafting, and some alternative approaches that we've got. And also, and this is for some of the commenters from some of our previous videos, Says and I don't agree on every single thing all the time. We are different people and different ideas. So, you know what? Listen to what you want. Take from it what you can. The information you're getting here, this is how I draft my leagues. I draft high dollar leagues like this. So hopefully we're going to help you dominate your league, high dollar, low dollar, your goofy friends and family league that you should be able to dominate if you listen to this. And that's what we're here to do. So, Says, why don't you start us off, my man? Let's take a look at the first round.
Before we start, though, right beneath you, let's talk about Thrive Fantasy. They are sponsoring this podcast.
Can't forget our sponsor for this podcast, Thrive Fantasy. Thrive is an awesome site, guys. We are a fan, and we'll talk a couple of props from Thrive later on. But Thrive is a props DFS site where you decide, you pick basically 3, 4, 5 games. You pick the over, under on different props, and you enter it in a tournament style contest, and the best score wins. So one of the great things we love about Thrive is just you get a massive edge by having a DFSARMY subscription coming in. You have projections for all of these things, and we'll show you a little bit of that later. But go check out Thrive Fantasy. Really awesome up-and-coming site for props. Use code DFSARMY, and they will match you up to how much? $100?
Yeah, $100. And also just watch until the end, because at the end, we're going to do a full Thrive demonstration for week 1. So just watch until the end, and we'll talk about that after. All right, so we're going to go round by round, Geek. In the first round, when you're, and again, we're assuming 3 receivers. They call it a flex 10 league. So you have 10 players, including a flex. A flex 9 is when you have
2 wide receivers.
2 wide receivers.
Yeah, this will be, our standard is flex 10, 3 wide receiver, 2 running back, 1 tight end, 1 flex, 1 quarterback. And then if you're donkeys, you can include a kicker and a defense.
I don't mind kicker and defense. Not that we play with them, but I don't mind giving out strategy, because I have what I think is a sound strategy for kicker and defense. And we'll talk about that at the end. So if you do play in leagues with kicker and defense, and a lot of legacy leagues do, Geek and I are going to give you a good sound strategy. And I'll lay out my strategy, which I've done before, and then you could kind of pepper it with your spices. So round 1, Geek, you're on the clock. Everybody knows if you have a top 2 pick, you're taking Christian McCaffrey, you're taking Dalvin Cook. If you are sitting there with the 3rd or 4th pick, how are you playing it this year?
I'm actually going to push that number out of you should just take these guys and not worry about it, all the way out to
which
4.
one? Everyone wants to know which one.
Alvin Kamara, with Jameis Winston now at the helm for the Saints. We are now, the Taysom Hill scare is gone. No Michael Thomas, no one to catch passes. Alvin Kamara beasted in PPR leagues without Michael Thomas last season. So we're going to get right back on the Alvin Kamara bandwagon. Good to go. He is your locked-in pick 3. And I think that Derrick Henry is a very, very comfortable pick number 4. And when you get beyond that, that's where you can make a decision. And I'm going to present a little bit of a strategy, or what I'm going to do.
Yeah, by the way, I just got a question while we were talking from someone that I know from Facebook. They just said, hey, I have pick 8. What should I do? Like, I mean, this question literally just came in.
I love it. So I think this will work even as far as pick 8. So anywhere beyond pick number 4, if you're picking, I would like you to try to get Devontae Adams with that pick. And the reason
you could do it.
He should be there. And even if it's Tyreek Hill, I'm okay with it as the WR2. And here's the reason why, guys. Having done quite a few high dollar leagues already this year, what we've noticed and what Sez and I have observed in these leagues are that the wide receiver group is rising and running backs are falling. That's not to say that that will be the case on the ADP reading in your Yahoo league or your NFL or your sleeper league. But the reason it's happening is because there's a massive drop-off in lockdown wide receiver talent this season in the draft. Right, it happens right at around round 4 or 5. Like, it happens so quickly that there is motivation. There are really good running backs that you can get a little bit later. So I like the idea. If you miss out on the super studs at the top of round 1, just go with super stud Devontae Adams or even Tyreek Hill. These guys are delivering consistent fantasy production. It's different than the traditional thought where running backs are giving you that 25 points and wide receivers are all over the place. Devontae Adams is giving you 25 points a game.
If you do take a wide receiver like Devontae Adams, say pick 7, pick 6, pick 8, is that going to make you more inclined to take a running back in round 2, or are you just, again, taking the best player available in round 2?
I think it works the same. Round 2, they're still good running backs, but the great wide receivers are going away, and there are still good running backs in rounds 3, 4, and 5. It's a longer season than usual with the extra game. There are going to be lots of injuries. Kevin's asking about Kelsey. I'm cool with Kelsey as well. Kelsey is a cheat code.
He's specifically saying Kelsey is a top 5 pick.
At ADP or top 5. I think it's rough because the difference between, for me, as much as Kelsey is a cheat code in terms of being that much better than every other tight end, there are a lot of good tight ends. So it's not like later in the draft there aren't really good ones hanging around.
Let me ask you this, Geek. I heard on a podcast the other day, I heard on the Breakfast Table podcast, they brought up something pretty interesting. They said that where you pick, like the tight end plan that you have is totally determined by the draft slot you have. So if you're pick 5, like in the end of round 1, it's either Kelsey or Waite. If you're picking at the beginning of round 1, it's Waller or Waite, because you're going to get Waller by ADP on the end of the second round.
Yes.
If you're picking Kittle, then it's somewhere in the middle of the draft because it's round 3 in the middle of the draft. And obviously Pitts, he goes on the 3-4 turn or 4-5 turn. So unless you're taking one of those guys, and the next stop on the train is the TJ Hawkinson and Mark Andrews. And then after that, you're just waiting. But I don't want to get too far out. I want to stick to here. I want to go round by round. So round 1, what I
want to emphasize about round 1 is do not fear going wide receiver in round 1 or even double tapping wide receiver in rounds 1 or 2. That is not a strategy. I'm not a 0 RB guy. I've never been that. But I do like RBs in the later rounds to the point where I think you could pull it off this year. And again, the longer season, higher likelihood of injury, I think you'll be able to pick up quality running back talent just off waivers over the course of the season. Quadre Olison comes in for Mike Davis, some guys who haven't been taken. But what you can't pick up are high-level elite wide receivers you don't have to worry about. So I actually am doing a little flip this season, and I'm allowing wide receivers. At least I'd like to come out of the first 3 rounds with 2 wide receivers, guys.
Yeah, and that's a departure from traditional leagues where you've always went running back. And
absolutely,
the wide receivers are getting pushed up in some of the high stakes leagues this year. I mean, you're seeing players like Robert Woods and Tyler Lockett go in round 3. Deontay Johnson's moved up to round 4. Of course, when you're in your home league, that's not going to happen. The running backs and even the quarterbacks tend to get pushed up a little bit, even in 1 quarterback leagues. So I still think that your plan is sound. Lock and load Devontae Adams in the middle of round 1. Anytime after pick 3, it sounds like you're okay with it.
After pick 4, I'm still going for Derrick Henry. He's too good.
Okay, so you like Derrick. And by the way, I have that choice in a few leagues, Derrick Henry or Zeke. Are you firmly in a PPR league with Derrick Henry over Zeke?
Yeah, I believe Zeke still carries a little bit of risk of he still sucks. Like, I've heard lots of good things about his offseason. He's serious. He got rid of the belly shirts. He got rid of the belly fat. All of those things sound great. So, like, all of the reports sound wonderful on Zeke. But what if it's all bullshit? And what if it's still that guy from last year that was a step slow, that never broke a run for more than 7 or 8 yards, that was just exclusively volume-based? So I have concerns about enough that I'm going to take Derrick Henry. I know Derrick Henry, who he is. He's going to come out and he's going to have games where he smashes, and he's going to have some rough games where he doesn't catch passes, doesn't score a touchdown, and gets you 8 points. But on the games where he's smashing, he is winning you your week. Those weeks he's put.
Derrick Henry falls directly into the Seslowsky. My own philosophy is you can't win your fantasy football draft in the first round, but you certainly could lose it. And Derrick Henry is not going to lose you your fantasy football draft. We have a question in the chat. It says, and I think this will be helpful to anybody listening, even on the audio podcast. Should picks be influenced by chances of going to the playoffs so that you have a competitive team at the end of the season? You just take the best players. You need to get off to a good start. Once you're 1-5 in your fantasy league, you're going to start not picking up all the guys on waivers. You really need to get off to that 3-2, 4-1 start.
What he's saying is the team itself going to the playoffs. So here I do have a follow-up.
And if that's what you mean, you don't even worry because you don't know who's going to go in the playoffs.
We don't know who's going to play. Here's the two things that I do like when you look at. I like scouting to see what defenses are playing, like who are you facing in those last weeks. So if I'm taking a running back and I scout ahead and all of a sudden they have like a murderer's row of the Rams, the Steelers, and and Tampa in the championship weeks, maybe you want to kind of like maybe that's not the guy we want to be drafting. Like there is benefit to looking at the championship weeks of your fantasy draft championships, which this year is what? I don't even know. 15, 16, 14, 15, 16. It's week 17 involved, right? There's an extra week this year. Or week 15, 16, and 17, week 18, is off. I'm not even sure how that works, but I look at the fantasy playoffs for my team, and I do take into consideration if there's a murderer's row of defenses faced specifically for the running back position. As far as like it says, how I feel about, losing teams. I don't like running backs from horrible teams most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time. But if those running backs are pass catching running backs like DeAndre Swift, who's on a bad team, if DeAndre Swift is healthy, he's going to catch 75 passes, and he's really good when he catches those passes. And I want them to be losing so they continue to pass the ball. So I understand your philosophy. You don't want to take that non-dynamic just plotter. If Gus Edwards was on a bad team, then I wouldn't want him, even though he's the starting running back. So your point is well taken.
Yeah.
Hey, Geek. So round two, who's your favorite target in round two?
All right. So my favorite player overall in round two is probably Antonio Gibson. I love that you can get him in round two. So again, I talked about wide receiver, and I still agree with that. But I do love Antonio Gibson when he falls to round two. So if you got
Adams at pick 7 and you're coming around, are you taking him?
Yeah, if he comes back to me and he's sitting there for me, and let's say Stephon Diggs is off the board.
No, let's say Stephon Diggs is on the board.
If Diggs is on the board, I'm taking Adams, Diggs, and I'm going into the season knowing I've got 30 fantasy points, 60 fantasy points almost locked down every single week by these two stud wide receivers. Realistically, you can actually count on Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs to deliver 20-plus points each per week. So I know I've got 40 points on lockdown. I got my quarterback, another 20 to 25. I'm like, shit, I'm starting off my week with 65, and then I'm filling out from there. I'm happy with it. So it'd be Diggs for me, then Gibson right after that.
And also, you made an important point that when you have those elite receivers, you're never thinking about benching Stephon Diggs, ever. It's when you get into those middle rounds and you're like, all right, do I start Devontae Smith or Jarvis Landry? Jarvis Landry's got a pretty good matchup, but Devontae Smith just came off a bad. Those are the worst parts of fantasy football. You want to just be able to set it and forget it with your receivers. And if you have to do that with one receiver, the guessing, that's fine. But when you have to do it with 2 and 3 of them, it becomes a nightmare. So there is a lot of merit to what you're saying.
Can I tell you one guy I never take in round 2? I have no exposure to him.
Mixon.
I don't have Mixon exposure at all. No, I don't have.
Is that who you were going to say?
No, I was going to say, and you're going to be surprised by it. That's why I want to throw it at you. I have no exposure to A.J. Brown.
Oh, that's funny you say that because he's like my main target in round 2. That's
they're going to hate us. They're like, I don't know what to fucking listen to. These guys disagree. He's at the end of round 2.
I think it's good when we disagree. I think that people want to hear both sides of the argument. And this is the thing about fantasy football nowadays. nobody's stupid out there. Everybody is a smart, sharp player, unless you're just literally walking in, just picking this stuff up for the first time. But the people that follow this podcast, they listen all year round. They're pretty sharp. They're pretty smart. And they like hearing both sides of the argument and making that decision for themselves. So don't worry if you don't agree.
I'll make the argument then. So that we present the argument, because
I've heard you make it. I think it's a good one.
My argument is this: AJ Brown does not get more than 6 receptions in a game on average. That has just not been him. What he does is he takes the low volume and makes a lot out of it. But in this round, there are just guys like Keenan Allen is just better than him for me in a PPR league. He's going to get 10 targets a game. He's going to get 80 yards maybe and have these monster games. I think the floor is just so much better with the Keenan Allen. I like Justin Jefferson better. I like DK Metcalf better. So the minute I like a guy who's after AJ Brown better than AJ Brown, but Keenan Allen is still there when you're taking AJ Brown. He's available still. So I never wind up with him because I prefer these guys who get a lot of targets. And AJ Brown just doesn't. Plus Julio's there now, so he could eat a little bit from Brown's very low volume already. So I just don't like the volume of passing on the Titans. And therefore, as much as I like AJ Brown as a player, I think he's a stud. There are going to be games that just Derrick Henry takes over, and he just doesn't get enough volume for me to justify taking him above Jefferson or Keenan Allen or DK Metcalf or even.
Yeah, but those guys go ahead of him. Like you don't have
not Keenan Allen.
Not Keenan Allen, correct. And Keenan Allen in a PPR, it's a reasonable debate. I like AJ Brown because this is how I look at it. Keenan Allen is most likely going to finish as wide receiver 9 on the year, wide receiver 7, wide receiver 13, something like that. He is going to lock that in, and that is a very safe, well-played pick right there. AJ Brown, if things break right, could finish as the wide receiver 1. That is so there is like a ceiling. Like there is a case where AJ Brown gets like 18 touchdowns. I mean, it's there. He's such a monster.
I almost think Henry would need to get hurt for that to happen.
No, because who else? Julio Jones has never been a touchdown scorer. No. I think Julio Jones being in Tennessee is likely to make it so AJ Brown doesn't get triple covered. They don't really have a tight end that hogs touchdowns. It's Henry, but Henry can't get them all. So I think that it's very possible. This is, third year is where you see it in the first year. You want to see it from rookie wide receivers. And that second year is where they take that big leap. Despite having terrible injuries last year, A.J. Brown played through it. His efficiency wasn't dinged too much. This is the breakout year. If A.J. Brown does indeed get those 130 targets, 135, 140 targets, it's game over. So I agree with you that Keenan Allen is probably a safer pick, but he doesn't have wide receiver 1 in his range of outcomes. A.J. Brown absolutely does.
It might be that I'm biased because he was injured all of last season with the various things and he just didn't carry teams. So we'll find out this year, right? But, for me, it's just not a guy that I've drafted. When I like the guy after him a little bit more, or I tend to just, when I see AJ Brown's kind of hanging out at ADP, I might just go with Waller, or and
AJ Brown does fall into the third round in a lot of these drafts. Yeah. So in the third round, you're excited to take him, obviously.
Yeah, it depends where it is. Like I said.
All right, so let's move into the third round. Who are some of your favorite? Can I answer this for you? I already know who your favorite third round target is.
So assuming I've gotten at least one. I'm coming out of the first 2 rounds with a wide receiver and a running back, or maybe 2 wide receivers, or maybe 2 running backs, but more likely 1 and 1. So we're going into the third. Who am I taking?
You're Terry McLaurin or bust right here. I mean, there is no way that you're coming out. If you have the first pick in the third round or the second pick in the third round, you are just snap and call on Terry McLaurin. You've loved the guy since he was a rookie. Thanks to me, I think, because I gave him away to you for Sony Michel in our Dynasty League. How stupid was that?
I got to live with Terry. You thought you were robbing me. The best guys is that you thought you were robbing me. Like he was working me. McLaurin comes out of one big game and he's like, "Hey, you want to buy this guy? He looks really good." I'm like, "Okay, take it."
I like Terry McLaurin too. You know who put me on to Terry McLaurin, because nobody was on him. He was like wide receiver 10 on a lot of boards. Rich Dotson over at the Dynasty Nerds, he was pretty high on Terry McLaurin. He was touting him. He's a big Ohio State fan, and they had him as like their wide receiver 3 that year. And that's why I snapped him up in our draft a little ahead of ADP, but I did not think that this was, now Terry McLaurin's a very trendy pick. And for good reason, he is the target in the third round. Would you say no matter what? Because in your home league, people are going to take Keenan Allen. People are going to take Patrick Mahomes here too.
Well, I'm taking Keenan Allen ahead of Terry McLaurin. Let's not go crazy, but I got him in the second round, so I can take Terry McLaurin. Let me tell you what I love about Terry McLaurin, and I have a reason for it. Terry McLaurin did well with nothing, and I'm not talking about a bad quarterback. No quarterback. He had no quarterback. There was a guy there, couldn't deliver the football. Somehow he's putting up numbers. He's had multiple seasons where he's been actually putting up really good numbers with no discernible. You can't name him. You don't even know. Who was the quarterback? I don't fucking know. I don't remember. Like, that's how nothing the quarterback play. Dwayne Haskins was quarterback for this guy for a while.
Yeah, so, he has that Allen Robinson career problem, right?
Yes, he's been with some of the work. So now here's the other thing that I like to take advantage of. The field is way too low on the talent of Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick may not be the winningest quarterback of all times, but he is like a Jameis Winston-esque fantasy producer.
He's a lid lifter, man. The rising tide lifts all boats. He is a fantasy kingmaker.
But the field, I've spoken to casuals and they're like, oh, Ryan Fitzpatrick sucks. What are you talking about? Like, that's the ultimate. Like, your first thought in your head is, oh, he's Ryan Fitzpatrick. He sucks. Okay. What the fuck does that have to do with can he deliver the football to a wide receiver and produce great fantasy outcomes? By the way, I don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick sucks. I think he's all right. But overall, it's a level up for Terry McLaurin. I believe he.
Oh, but you know who the new Ryan Fitzpatrick is? There's a new Ryan Fitzpatrick, like a guy who's going to bounce about too. I'm predicting he's going to have 8 teams and he's going to be good for fantasy, but he's never going to be good enough to be on a winning quarterback. And that's Gardner Minshew. He's the new Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's on that career arc. He's
the backup guy.
He's the perennial backup. He'll be a couple more years. He'll be starters for scrub teams. He'll be that bridge quarterback when the team drafts a rookie. He is on the same career path. I'm convinced of it.
I'm going to give you another name that I like in the third round. And it's funny. I'm trying to look for this name and in the in ADP, and actually he's not a third rounder. So I'm, you know what? It's ridiculous. But James Robinson belongs.
Yeah, no, Robinson is in the third round. If you sort the ADP correctly,
something's off about my ADP right here because I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah, I'll give you his exact ADP. I'll give you exact. So right now in the NFFC, the high stakes leagues, he's going around 34th overall. So that's right near the end of.
There he is. Okay. All right, good. I forgot to hit. I forgot to hit. Search.
I mean, that's the right spot for him, right? I mean, he's going one spot ahead of DeAndre Swift and Chris Carson.
Correct, and that's where he belongs. He belongs. He's in by ADP. He's right in line with David Montgomery. I love both of those guys. David Montgomery, and let me be clear on this. This is really, really important. David Montgomery and James Robinson are part of the reason why I'm cool with waiting on running back this year. Because unlike the stink cheese from last season, the Gurleys and the Connors and just the Leonard Fournettes that you never liked, you just felt gross pulling the trigger, but they were the guys who were going in round 3. This year, these are young studs. David Montgomery, oh, you sucked one year. Who cares? He was a stud at the end of last year. Oh, Tariq Cohen's coming back. The dude is still on the pup list. Don't worry about Tariq Cohen. And how about James Robinson? No competition whatsoever for touches. Never went below 10 PPR points in a game last season with Gardner Minshew, Mike Glennon, and a team of ne'er-do-wells at the helm on a losing Jaguars team. So with Trevor Lawrence in play, with some potential winning going on, I don't know. They might be good. They might not. Listen, there's some red flags around Urban Meyer. A couple red flags floating around. Tim Tebow being brought in, little sketch. But overall, what's the feeling in Jacksonville, says, man? You're a Jacksonvilleite. You're a Jacksonvillean. Actually, I think a Jacksonville person should be called a Jacksonvillean because nothing good comes out of Jacksonville.
I disagree with that. Jacksonville is a very nice city.
A Jacksonvillean.
Yeah, but the feeling
Jacksonian. All right, I'm sorry. Go. Tell me.
Feeling,
what are you saying about these guys? Definitely villains in Jacksonville.
The feeling around Jacksonville is they like Urban Meyer. I know that in the fantasy world, we think of him as a little bit like we're suspicious that he might be like an undercover donkey. He's made only suboptimal plays, including drafting a running back in the first round. We know all this, but
very sketchy. Do we have to detail it?
No, I mean,
it's the bad. Why are you taking a running back in the first round? What the fuck is that? It's a quarterback competition with Minshew so that for some reason Trevor Lawrence couldn't get all the touches, just to trade Minshew away for like peanuts. I mean, there are red flags around this guy that are crazy. Why would you trade Gardner Minshew for a 6th rounder? Like, how about just keep him?
Yeah, that I didn't understand at all. Why give him away? Like, you know, if you were going to get a 3rd round pick for him or a 4th round pick, at least you made some money on it. You know, I mean, you paid a 6th round pick or a 7th round pick for him, but just to give him away for nothing, it made no sense, especially since he's good. We'll see.
I mean, say another thing. I believe you just came up with the new NFT, undercover donkeys. That you just fucking draw a picture of an undercover donkey. 3 months from now, we're selling that $1 million.
Love it.
Yeah,
love it.
Undercover Donkey Club, guys. Whoever NFT people.
So we've gone through a few rounds already. We've given you the best picks. Let's take a quick break here for 1 second and just remind everybody again. You see it right here if you're watching on the live stream or if you're listening on the audio podcast. Go check out Thrive Fantasy. If you like prop betting as much as we do, we use all the prop projections on DFSARMY. Go to Thrive Fantasy, use code DFSARMY. They'll match. This is where the Geek and I play our props. Prop betting is literally the fastest rising sports betting style right now. As you know, over at Sharp App, you guys see it all the time. So definitely go over to Thrive Fantasy. We're going to stay to the end. We're going to do another couple rounds here, and then we're going to bring up Thrive Fantasy's prop game, and we're going to take you, just like we're doing the best picks now, we're going to take you through some of the best picks so you can make some money over there.
A couple of week 1 picks we really like over on Thrive. Yeah. But let's continue here and move on
round
to
four.
3.
Round 4.
Round 4.
Yeah. So who's your favorite? Who's your favorite pick in round 4? I mean, obviously, I know this is where it doesn't really matter if you're picking at the beginning, the end. Who do you like here? Who are some of your targets after you've logged a couple receivers and a running back?
Okay, so I mean, again, that James Robinson or David Montgomery might fall here. I'm all over that.
No, you've already taken them in round 3.
But assuming they're gone, the guy I like in round 4, and it's a little weird because I'm not seeing him on this ADP, but the guy I like in round 4 is Darrell Henderson.
Yeah, well, he's falling. That's why you're not. So in round 4, he was going in round 4 after he was going the 4-5 turn. He's actually falling to round 7.
I mean, it's crazy. So let's say, all right, so let's wait on Darrell Henderson because I am seeing that he's fallen quite a bit. And it's the wide receivers that are getting pushed in here. You know who I like in this area? I'm going to tell you who I avoid first. I think avoids are just as important as likes. I like Cooper Kupp. I like Amari Cooper. Those are the guys I'm going for in round 4. But I'm avoiding Godwin and Mike Evans like the plague. I'm avoiding DeAndre Swift, who's already hurt. Not into that.
I like both Tampa Bay receivers, just not at this cost.
I can't get them because the cost where they go, I don't like them. It doesn't.
Right. They were going in the 6th round.
Yes.
I'm in. But obviously that's not going to happen. And in your home leagues, when you're drafting in your home leagues, both Tampa receivers are name brand. They are going to go. Just understand, you are not going to have them on your team. If you're a follower of this live stream, of this podcast, do not draft Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. And here's the reason. The reason is that Brady is known to be a distributor. There's no week that you could project that which wide receiver is going to get theirs. And now you add Antonio Brown into the mix. He has an equal chance of any of these guys to produce.
Wait, why is Antonio Brown all of a sudden worse than Evans or Godwin? Because I'm pretty sure Antonio Brown is the fucking GOAT at wide receiver as long as he's not having like mental breakdowns and shit. And he's awesome. So if I want one of those wide receivers, I think Antonio Brown has just as much volume and upside as any of them. Why would I draft these guys early?
And Gronk had a pretty good year last year, and including a great Super Bowl. So Gronk's going to be a target. They're saying OJ Howard has had a good camp. The Tampa Bay, it's just going to be a nightmare if you drafted these guys as your wide receiver 1. Certainly. So I would just hold off. I mean, if you do end up with one of them, they're not a complete avoid, but I'd still rather have Tyler Lockett. I even think I like DJ Moore better than them. And I'm starting to warm up to some of the other Panther receivers. For me, my favorite pick in round 4, it's the most boring pick you're ever going to make. Everyone hates Adam Thielen this year, but he was a touchdown machine last year. Now, hear me out, Geek.
By the way, if you want to pop this on screen, we could show the ADP data so that people could follow along. And actually, it'd be really cool if you guys in the comment section say who you like in these rounds. So why don't you pop it up on screen, share the screencast, because I do have it up here where
you have the ADP up?
If you just show my
Okay.
screencast,
Cool.
it'll show in there. Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
So if you
do you
guys
know how to
want-
make? Do you know how to do it so you can show them the grid?
Oh boy,
Here, like, so you hit. Is there a grid view?
I don't think this has a grid view here.
Yeah, no, I have it right here. So I have the grid view up. So I'll share my screen instead.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, because I think it's more fun to follow along if they're seeing who the players are that we're choosing from a little bit rather than just us assuming that guys watching will know that. So I don't know, grid view, eh? I like a grid. Oh,
You like that?
yeah. All right, I like that.
Yeah, this way you
Okay,
can,
so-
this is grid. This is ADP pulled over the last 2 days for NFFC, and this is 3 receivers and a flex. Everything we're talking about. So there you go, folks. It's right up on the screen. All right.
There we go.
We were talking about Adam Thielen. And
There's-
Adam Thielen last year was a touchdown monster. He scored 14. Everyone's favorite thing is to say, Adam Thielen, he's going to regress. But it's regress to what? He's not going to regress to 3. He's probably going to regress to 9 or 10. There is no other player on that team other than Justin Jefferson. And Justin Jefferson's not going to get 190 targets. If he is, then you're right. Adam Thielen's not going to be good. But they do pass the football a good amount. They run it through Dalvin Cook, obviously. That's the beginning of their offense. But there's no other receiver on there. They just lost Irv Smith for at least the first month of the season. I think we're going to hear in a couple of days that Irv Smith is out for the year. That's what I think this is. They just traded for Chris Herndon. No threat. Their third receiver is Chase Beebe or something like that.
They have 2 people to throw to. By the way, let me tell you something. Let me break.
So do you like this pick in the 4th round?
I love the pick. I love it. Here's one of the things that I would break down all of last season in my DFS content. One of the things I would talk about is how the Vikings have one of the, if not the most concentrated offense in the NFL. They literally only really throw to the 2 guys. It's Jefferson and it's Thielen, and that's it. They don't, the tight end this year was looking at a breakout. He's gone now. Chris Herndon, not a threat at all. He's been garbage. So they're going to have and maintain. If Kirk Cousins throws 25 passes, there's a good chance that 20 of them are going to either Thielen or Jefferson, with 5 distributed to randoms and whatever. So
and Dalvin Cook will get 3 or 4 targets a game.
Yeah, and they don't even throw to Cook that
but
much.
25 is very low. I would say that you're going to schedule him in for 33, 34. They're going to want to pass the football a little bit more. They're a pretty sharp team, and that's what I'm saying. It's like Adam Thielen is at that age where you're a little bit worried. It's not you never get too worried about like an Antonio Brown, like an all-time greats. They seem to age well. Guys like Adam Thielen, they do just fall off the cliff, but it seems like he didn't show it last year that he was done. And he's just one of those receivers where Kirk Cousins just trusts him. So in the 4th round, if you decided to go running back early, because I do like to go running back early. I like taking Zeke Elliott. I like taking Najee Harris in the first 2 rounds. And then I feel like I'm a little stuck in the 3rd and 4th round. So that's where I think that if you do get in that situation, or even if you took Geek's draft plan and you went wide receiver, and then came back with David Montgomery, the 4th round is a great place. Nobody else wants Adam Thielen. We both agree on that. Let's move over to the 5th round, Geek, so we can keep this thing moving, because it sounds like we're only going to get through 6 rounds, and then we'll have to come back later in the week and finish our draft plan. So
try to hammer this out.
Take a look in the 5th round. Now, remember, Gus Edwards is in the 5th round. I can't do it only because I am so spoiled from getting him in the 11th round. He's on 90% of my teams this year. I couldn't understand why people weren't drafting Gus Edwards. I did get
one of the easy early best ball. Plays when you waited on running.
There was no difference between A.J. Dillon, Tony Pollard. He was 1 injury away from being a top 25, top 15 running back, and that's what he is. So who's your favorite pick in the 5th round? I think I know who it is.
No, I don't mind Gus Edwards at all.
Okay,
I'm
good.
down with Gus Edwards. I'm cool with it. But Jerry Jeudy is a guy that I'm really into this season. Teddy Bridgewater, a real quarterback in play. I am not a fan of Drew Lock. I'm sorry. Me and Sez have been fighting over Drew Lock a little bit for years, in that you said he might be okay. And I've told you from the beginning, this kid doesn't have it. So I was never a fan of Drew Lock. I was a major fan of Jerry Jeudy. I think there's a little risk here because we've never seen him really produce at a high level, but I'm believing my eyes with Jerry Jeudy. I like what the kid does. I love his route running, and I like how it lines up with Teddy Bridgewater's skill set. Teddy Bridgewater, not necessarily the guy tossing bombs out there. He wants to throw to the crossing guy across the middle. He's got a little bit of a noodle arm going on, but he has some accuracy qualities where Jerry Jeudy should be the guy that benefits from Teddy KGB getting the nod.
Yeah, I mean, we said that all along, that if you are Jerry Jeudy drafter, you want Teddy Bridgewater to win that job. If you are a Cortland Sutton drafter, you probably want the big arm Drew Lock. It's all lining up. Jerry Jeudy in the high stakes leagues is starting to go on that 4-5 turn. It's a little rich, but I agree that Jerry Jeudy is going to be our favorite 5th round pick. And I think in a home leagues, you might be able to get Jeudy as late as the 7th round. I don't know.
Yeah, is the funny thing. These ADPs are really, really sharp because this is the NFFC high. And guys, when you're not, if you're not, I want everybody to take this with a grain of salt when you're watching this. Whatever platform you're drafting on, Sleeper, Yahoo, even if you're some sort of donkey that still uses CBS, which, my God, what's wrong with you? But if you're doing that, pay attention to the ADP of the platform because your league mates are looking at that and using it for their decision. So if you see, if you're in the 5th round, you're like, hey, Kevin and said Jerry Jeudy's a great pick here, but he's showing ADP like round 8. Don't take him in the 5th round. Just know that you probably can wait another round, maybe 2 rounds. Don't wait too long, but wait a little bit and see if you can grab him at a better value. So I'm never against trying to get this. I'll say the same reasoning why Darrell Henderson hasn't been my pick in every one of these fucking rounds. Because, okay, in this format, given the set of restrictions that we have, Darrell Henderson's there in the 6th round. But I don't think I could wait. Like, if it's me, I'm taking Darrell Henderson in the 5th round because I'm like not believing that people are so stupid as to let this guy drop all the way to this spot. So I'm taking him sooner, but like given the constraints of what the ADP is on screen here, that's where, sure, of that group, you take Jerry Jeudy there, but I think most of you will be able to get him a round or 2 later.
Why don't we take a short just pause from here? Why don't we just go right in there and we'll go into give our favorite. We'll do 1 or 2 picks from Thrive Fantasy. So people could see if you're playing a prop game, how that works. So let's just take a quick break here, explain it, and let's try to keep this quick break here and get people to go over to Thrive using code DFSARMY. We'll take 2 minutes here for this.
Yeah, I mean, the way the game works, really simple. You're just going to see these props and make a decision over under. So right up on screen, you could see Russell Wilson, 266 passing yards. Do we think over or under? Or do we really not love it at the Colts? I actually like the over for Russell Wilson week 1. And you could see if you are correct, you get 95 points in this particular tournament. We're going to pick a few of these types of props. So Juju Smith-Schuster, I'd be going under 65 yards total, taking the 100 points.
I think I would go under if it was 45 yards for him too.
I know. It's a real, sometimes these are really off. And if you compare these with the DFSARMY projections, which are broken down all the way to these level of props, you'll really come on. I love Dalvin Cook to get a touchdown at Cincinnati. It's almost impossible for him not to, you know what I mean? So already you've seen like the under on Derrick Henry rushing yards would be where I'd probably go, or I might not mess with that prop. I'm not in love with it, but I mean, Odell Beckham, 8.5 receptions. When has that ever happened? So I'm going under.
These are some soft props. So as you see, just go over to Thrive Fantasy. You could check out these games. Geek and I play them every single week. Use code DFSARMY. If you put in $25, they'll match it. If you put in 50 or 100, they'll match it. It's a lot of fun. And if you already are, or if you're a first time depositor, you can also get the free month of DFSARMY and use our projections. So that's how that works, guys. Check it out.
Really nice little system here.
All right, we're going back now.
Very beatable.
6th round. All right, man. We're in the 6th round.
Now, obviously, I've already mentioned Darrell Henderson a few times, so I'm not going to say
you can't do that. He's already off the board.
He's off the board. So the first thing I'm going to do in looking at the 6th round is warn you off of Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. Like, there's no way I'm taking those guys here. Dak Prescott, I'm thinking about it. But my favorite guy in this round says, and man, I don't know if you're going to flame me. I don't know where we're going with this one. My favorite guy is Chase Claypool in the 6th round.
Sure.
And I know I'm focused on wide receivers, but I love Claypool. I think he's going to beast this season. He's a touchdown machine. The Steelers love to throw the football. Risk, yes. The risk is Ben Roethlisberger, injury prone. Concerns, yes, I have them. But I can't really predict Roethlisberger going down with an injury. Therefore, Chase Claypool is my guy in this round. How about you?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's the guy who he's the Will Fuller of this year, right? I mean, he's not going to be the primary target like Will Fuller was when he was with Deshaun Watson. The primary target is most likely Deontay Johnson. But as we saw you just want to see a spark from a rookie. And we saw a mega spark. We saw a player that can just tilt your fantasy week, and that's Chase Claypool. So if he does take that second-year step, and Ben Roethlisberger does have something left, Chase Claypool is one of those players that we could be talking about as a second round, grouped in with the Allen Robinson, CeeDee Lambs next year, the Terry McLaurin. So I think that that's a really sharp pick. The interesting pick, the one that I know I'm not going to be taking, is Damian Harris. Ever since the news broke that Mac Jones is now the starting quarterback of the New England Patriots, Damian Harris has crept to the 5-6 turn, the 4-5 turn. Sorry about that, the 4-5 turn. Are you taking him? Are you okay with knowing that you're only going to get 15 receptions, but you probably could get 8 to 10 touchdowns?
It's not for me, it's not for me, but I do like where you're going with it. Number one, there was an argument in my channel in our Discord today about, not an argument, but maybe a little bit of disagreement, where some people, like Keg, for example, was a little higher on Damian Harris than I am. I'm like, I don't want no Harris.
That's a Keg type of pick, right? It's a very
it's just he said, well, you know what? We don't know that Ramondre Stevenson is going to get any run from the Patriots.
No, I'm saying I like it. That's him. He's thinking about it very logically. Like, Belichick has a rookie running back behind a starter, the entrenched starter. The entrenched starter's got no competition. They're going to be a running team. Like I said, that's how Keg thinks. He thinks very logically. He doesn't worry about sexiness. He just goes very logical. And I think that's a pretty sharp way to think.
I'll throw this at you again. Darrell Henderson, who's the best pick in this round. We take him off the board because we took him around before.
You've picked him in every round so far.
I know. I keep taking him because I can't believe
you don't stick to the topic here.
Yeah, I know. I need to emphasize that this guy, I'm getting him in every league. But we're in the 5th round. We're in the 6th round. We need a running back. You have this group, Sans Henderson, to choose from. Who are you taking?
Well, in the 6th round, if I've gone heavy wide receiver, it's hard to stay away from Damian Harris, but I just don't want any piece of Chase Edmonds. I have I am arbitraging him with James Conner. I told you in round 11, I think James Conner is the lead back. Chase Edmonds certainly has weekly upside with the pass catching, so he is off my list in this range. This is the range usually I'm looking at the quarterback in your home leagues. Lamar Jackson's probably going to fall here if I didn't get a quarterback. I don't think it's a bad idea. Robbie Anderson's my guy here. I really like him. I think that it feels a little early to reach up for him here, but he just signed a brand new contract. The one really good year that Sam Darnold had, it was with Robbie Anderson. I know you don't like Sam Darnold. You have every reason not to like Sam Darnold, but Robbie Anderson did have a bit of a second breakout last year, and he did score double-digit touchdowns. I like Robbie Anderson a lot in the 6th round. It's not a sexy pick, but again, it is not. This is the round where everything's kind of like the same. You're either going to be reaching, or you're going to get a quarterback, or you're going to fall into your tight end right here.
Yeah, I don't hate going for the tight end if you can get it. I think if I have to choose between these running backs, though, I am taking Edmonds. I think there's some PPR upside with him. And I just think Connor might be washed. So I think they'll bring in Connor for the low value touches. But I think as long as Edmonds is the 60% guy, then I think he'll do enough to say, hey, let me you in my flex.
He's never had, I think he's had 20 carries like once in his career.
I don't want 20. I just want 60%. I want mostly passing game work, but I want him out there as the primary back with Connor spelling him. Listen, there's a little bit of speculation. The Cardinals' running game just doesn't score a lot of fantasy, but I agree with you there. I mean, it's not like the Cardinals' running game does well. Kyler Murray takes the tutties, so
they're not going to be doing that much this year. I'm interested to see who is going to score the touchdowns. If they go back to Kyler Murray running them, that would be interesting if he ends up with like 8 or 9 rushing touchdowns. But they're gonna use James Conner. I think that's why they brought him in. He's had trouble staying healthy, but he is a competent goal line back, a short yardage back. There is a world and there is a range of outcomes that's likely, I think, where James Conner has 7-8 touchdowns this year, maybe like 750 yards. And in the 11th round, you're going to be happy. He's going to be playable every week. So if you do believe that, Chase Edmonds does have some weekly upside. I had this argument with somebody else in another league. They said that Chase Edmonds is a great 4-5 turn pick. And I just don't see it. And I have Chase Edmonds on a couple of my teams because I like him. I got him, in the dynasty leagues a few years ago, or in the beginning of draft season. He was going in like the 6th, 7th, 8th round.
Yeah.
But as soon as he's solidly in the 5th, 6th, I was out.
How about and I want to move on to the next round, but I also I like the upside of Trey Sermon. I think that he can. Totally. He has the potential with Raheem Mostert. It's funny he's getting taken a couple picks after Mostert. Mostert has definitely.
Mostert's a starter. He's the starter.
Yeah, he's a little undersized and he gets hurt a lot, and so I really think that if Mostert goes down, it's weird that they're so. I wish you can get a better deal on Sermon. I don't like him here, but I like Sermon in terms of the potential late season to pull like a Cam Akers and sort of stud up in the second half of the season with all the other running backs banged up for San Francisco. They're always banged up in San Francisco.
Yep. All right, we're gonna stop here. We're gonna pause through 6 rounds, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back on Thursday or Friday. I forget which. I think it's gonna be Friday, and our friends are gonna. If you guys want to come and join us again, we'll put out exactly when we're gonna be here. We're gonna do part 2. We're gonna bring you through round 6. Hopefully your draft isn't before then. If it is, it's still fine.
We're trying to hammer these out. It is draft season right now, so we're doing our best to get as much of this content out to you guys. I hope this format was really cool. I thought it was, Sez.
I know it is. I know this is what people have been asking for. When we're in the Discord, people are saying, who do I pick in this round? And that made this podcast possible. That's what the genesis of this is. It's, hey, we're going to tell you who to pick in each round. All right, man, let's wrap it up. Let's keep this thing under 50 minutes.
There we go. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed the breakdown. Of course, our rankings, everything. It's DFS season in 2 weeks, so it's time to get signed up for DFSARMY as a VIP. If you haven't done it already, I don't know what the hell you're waiting for. We've got 14 premium daily fantasy sports tools, ownership projections, player projections, cheat sheets, notes, the Domination Station Optimizer, which has won multiple $1 million takedowns for people. We have won countless showdowns. Our showdown tool is incredible. You want to get signed up at DFSARMY, and we have something really cool this season. Says we have an NFL season pass. If you're not into other sports, you're a fantasy football fanatic like I am, like Says is. Cool. Do the NFL season pass. $199 gets you 12 months. That's like $12 a month.
What is, hey, Geek, what is this guy, Sam, asking? He's asking the name of the board for the DFS picks. What does that mean?
I'm assuming that you mean DFSARMY, and bro, get in there, baby.
Yeah, just go to DFSARMY. And right now you can sign up for Thrive, use code DFSARMY, and get a free month of DFSARMY. Try it out.
That's right. We literally give a month of VIP is $69.99. That covers every single sport that we cover. I mean, we cover every sport, dude. College football is going bananas, and we are known as the best college football coverage in the industry. We have a ton of people who just sign up for college football because it's levels above everywhere else. It's really hard to cover. We have the best NASCAR. We have the best PGA. So, like, aside from the main sports, that's what VIP is so cool. It covers every sport. Esports, you want to play League of Legends? DFS, we crush that. All right, we take it very seriously. So if you do VIP, it's $70 a month, or you could just do any of the free offers, including the Thrive free offer. You sign up at Thrive. You let us know. There's instructions on how to do it on the DFSARMY.com website. You got to let us know that you did it. You got to email support at DFSARMY. Say, hey, I signed up for Thrive using your code, and we send you a free month of DFSARMY VIP, $70 value.
And if you're really cheap and very minimum and you got value from this podcast, just go to our YouTube page, get some of the content for free by subscribing to the YouTube page. Just click the little red button. I know every podcast tell you to subscribe, but that's how you get some of it for free if you don't want to pay for the premium stuff.
Yeah,
all right, let's wrap it up, though. Let's wrap it up.
In the YouTube channel, my first look DraftKings Week 1 lineup video is there. So you can get a look at DFS, my DraftKings takes for Week 1, a little early look, very early. Listen, things change between now and kickoff, but a little early look at some potential lineup construction approaches for DraftKings Week 1. So for Season Long Says, for myself, for DFSARMY, for Thrive Fantasy, guys, we'll see you next time. Good luck, everyone.